Imagine waking up one morning and deciding not to do your job. Not because you're sick, not because you're on vacation, but because something else, something that never sleeps, never gets hungry, never gets distracted by a notification, is going to do it for you for 30 days straight. What do you think would happen? That question sounds like a thought experiment. It's not. Thousands of people have run exactly this experiment. Programmers, writers, marketers, project managers, lawyers, teachers. They handed their daily workload to an AI system and watched what happened. And what they found didn't just surprise them, it changed how they understood work itself. You probably think you know how this ends. Either the AI crushes it and the human becomes obsolete, or the AI makes embarrassing mistakes and the human comes out looking irreplaceable. The reality is stranger than either of those stories. Much stranger. Here's what actually happens when AI does your job for 30 days. The first week feels like cheating. That's the word most people use. A content strategist named Kara Swisher described the sensation as walking into an exam where someone had already filled in all your answers. The output is there. The emails are drafted. The reports are summarized. The research is compiled. And it took 12 minutes instead of 4 hours. Your brain doesn't know what to do with the extra time, so it gets anxious. You start checking the AI's work obsessively, hunting for errors, because some part of you needs it to be wrong. Because if it's not wrong, then what exactly were you doing all those years? That anxiety has a name. Researchers at MIT's Sloan School of Management call it automation threat response. It's not the fear of losing your job, it's deeper than that. It's the fear that the work you believed was hard, the work you built your identity around, wasn't actually that hard. And that is a very different kind of loss. Here's the thing your brain doesn't want to admit. Most knowledge work, the emails, the summaries, the first drafts, the data sorting, the scheduling, the formatting, most of it is pattern recognition. You learned a pattern early in your career. You got fast at executing that pattern. You got rewarded for that speed, and you called it expertise. AI doesn't learn the pattern. AI is the pattern. It doesn't get better at your job. It is your job, stripped down to its repeating core. But then week 2 happens, and the cracks start to show. Not the cracks you expected. The AI doesn't forget a deadline. It doesn't confuse your client's name. It doesn't produce something riddled with factual errors. The cracks are subtler and more interesting than that. A financial analyst running this experiment in 2023, documented by researchers at the University of Pennsylvania, noticed that the AI's reports were technically perfect, complete, well-sourced, and completely useless to his actual clients. Not because the data was wrong, because the clients didn't understand their own business the way he did. He had spent years in rooms with these people. He knew that one executive flinched at certain kinds of risk language. He knew another responded only to loss framing, never gain framing. He knew which findings to bury in an appendix and which to put in the subject line of the email. The AI had no idea. It optimized for correctness. He had optimized for humans. That distinction between correct and useful is the first thing the 30-day experiment teaches you about the future of your job. A researcher named Ethan Mollick at Wharton has spent years studying how professionals interact with AI in real work conditions. His findings are counterintuitive. The workers who benefit most from AI are not the ones who already perform at the highest level. They're the ones in the middle, the competent but not exceptional people. AI raises their output dramatically. But for the top performers, the people whose value was never just speed or volume, the gap actually widens. Because the thing that made them exceptional was never the pattern. It was the judgment underneath the pattern. Think about what judgment actually is. It's not processing power. It's not memory. It's the accumulation of every mistake you made and survived, every room you read wrong and corrected, every moment your instinct said one thing while logic said another, and you learned which one to trust. Judgment is the scar tissue of experience. And an AI, no matter how capable, has no scars. It has never been wrong in a way that cost it something real. By week 3, something unexpected happens to most people running this experiment. They stop competing with the AI. They start using it. And that shift changes everything. A team of architects at a London firm handed their preliminary design process to an AI for a full month. The AI generated hundreds of viable spatial layouts in the time it would have taken the team to sketch a dozen. At first, the architects felt replaced. By week 3, they felt something closer to relief, because now they could stop doing the part of their job that was repetitive and start doing the part that required taste, argument, intuition, and the courage to say no to a client who wanted something ugly. The AI gave them back the part of architecture that made them architects in the first place. That's the pattern hiding inside the 30-day experiment. AI doesn't reveal what it can do better than you. It reveals what you were always too busy to do. James Clear, who has written extensively on human performance and habit systems, observed that most people spend the majority of their professional lives doing what he calls maintenance work. The low-value repetitive tasks that keep the machine running but don't move it forward. AI absorbs maintenance work almost entirely, and that leaves the human facing an uncomfortable question. Now that the maintenance is handled, what are you actually here to do? Some people discover they don't have a good answer. That's a real finding from the experiment, and it's worth sitting with. If you remove the volume from your work, the emails, the meetings, the reports, the formatting, the following up, and what's left doesn't feel essential, that tells you something important. Not that you're replaceable, that your organization may have built a role around the maintenance rather than the mission. By day 30, the people who ran this experiment longest and documented it most honestly arrived at roughly the same conclusion. The question was never whether AI could do their job. The question was which parts of their job were actually worth doing. And the answer to that question turned out to be deeply human. Relationship, judgment, taste, accountability, the willingness to be in the room when something goes wrong and own it. A machine can generate the perfect report. It cannot call a grieving client the morning after a loss and know when to stop talking. A machine can write the ideal cold email. It cannot read the micro-expression on the face of a skeptical investor across a conference table and pivot the entire pitch in real time. A machine can draft a lesson plan. It cannot notice the one student in the back row who is about to give up on themselves and find the exact right words to stop that from happening. That's not a weakness in the technology. That's a permanent structural limit. Because the things that matter most in any human endeavor, trust, presence, emotional intelligence, moral courage, cannot be optimized. They can only be practiced. They exist entirely in the space between two people, not in the space between a person and a screen. What happens when AI does your job for 30 days? You find out what your job actually is. And if you're paying attention, you find out that the parts worth fighting for were never the parts you could have automated anyway. The next morning, when you wake up and the AI is already running, the question isn't how to compete with it. The question is, what are you going to do with the 30 days it just gave you back? That's not a question a machine can answer for you. That one is still entirely yours.